I gotta be honest with you all, I'm actually a pretty big fan of the Planes movies. I've always loved the first movie as a kid. I mean, while it may not be as good as Cars, and I mean all three movies as a whole, this is one movie that I definitely still enjoy. As a kid, I didn't think too highly of Planes, Fire, and Rescue, but as I grew older and started rewatching it more, I have realized that it is a pretty good movie. And Planes 3. Oh, wait, that's right. Planes 3 was canceled, so... But anyways, the actual topic of this video is supposed to be on something in the films I don't think I see a lot of people talk about, which is none other than the Wings Around the Globe racers. I already found it reasonable that we talked enough about characters already, like Dusty or Chew or Shawnee, Ripslinger, Bulldog, any Wings Around the Globe racer whose role is more prominent in the films. But personally, I did want to talk about these guys and do a ranking list on them. And, well, obviously this is going to go in depth of why I like them or why I don't like them. Now, I am going to say that the majority of these will be background racers, so the main characters will really just be ranked by design to make things more fair. And you've seen me do that with Piston Cup racers before in my past ranking list. Of course, now I'm using a different format. So, anyways, this is my second time using this new format. So, anyways, I hope you all really enjoy this video, especially since this is my first time ranking the Wings Around the Globe racers. But, yeah, wanted to have a little bit of fun with it. So, hope you all enjoy. Alright, so in dead last, we've just got one plane, that of course being Vanderburg. Talk about a plane that looks similar to Rush Kerber, my least favorite Cars 1 racer. I mean, okay, he's not nearly as bad, but, well, he's still pretty disgusting. As you may have guessed already, I absolutely despise the colors. I mean, the way the red and the yellow and the orange mix is just so awful. And also, his design doesn't even try much to appeal to me. I do have two positives. I do like his model, and his number is actually pretty cool in my opinion. But yeah, I am not a fan of him. Also, I feel like I'm kind of being reminded of one racer's last name whenever I hear this guy's name. Next up is Dusty's main rival, Ripslinger. I will admit that as a kid, I might have hated Ripslinger so much, but recently I have realized how crucial his role was and how much of a challenge he needed to be for Dusty Cropper.
In it.
Enough!
Yeah, enough!
You know they shot old Yeller at the end, you twits.
Aw, spoiler alert!
So, I have actually kind of grown to like him a little bit, even if he's not my favorite character. I just thought it'd be nice to discuss my opinions on some of the characters, since I'm now talking about them on my ranking list. But, of course, this is still a ranking list by design, so for Ripslinger's design, well, I mean, compared to Vanderbird, I do have one positive thing to say about his design, and it's that I do kind of like the flames. But other than that, yeah, I really have nothing else too positive to say. The green and the black already look pretty bad on him, and the orange that isn't flames basically just turn it into a very ugly color combination. And, well, a very bland design. He's not terrible, but he's definitely a plane that I strongly dislike, at least in terms of design. So in general, I like him as a character, but by design, absolutely not. Our last plane in the D tier, and yes, this is our last plane, is actually two planes. strangely enough, who just share a spot because of their designs. Those, of course, as you may have guessed, being Ned and Zed. Two henchmen of Ripslinger, who I actually find to be kind of funny sometimes, and overall pretty enjoyable characters. Though, once again, like Ripslinger, even though I like them, I am not a fan of their designs. Their designs are just simply too similar to Ripslinger's, and even though they only have one more color that adds into the combination, that being white, it simply isn't enough to be much different, and therefore they're both in the same tier, and they are pretty much in the D tier. Now, since we're done talking about all the D tier planes, shall we move on to the C tier? First plane that I only really find to be mediocre is none other than Piston. Now, I will start off by giving him one positive. I think his name is pretty cool if you ask me. I think his color choices are pretty decent at best. But his design, yeah, it's just average. Also, he's one of those planes who never made it past the time trials, so yeah. Our last plane in the top 5 worst is none other than Jackson Riles. Another plane which I don't have much to say about. I mean, I just find his design to be meh. His colors are okay. I do like his name and his number. Oh yeah, I did actually figure out that his diecast happens to be dark blue with a little bit of cyan and a slight bit of yellow lines. Okay, either I'm colorblind or he's supposed to look like that in the movie, or his diecast is inaccurate, because in his artwork, he looks more gray. Or maybe that's just me, I don't know. But that's really all I gotta say. I didn't even notice the images of his diecast while making the script, so I just decided to add this in. Up next is Arturo. And once again is another one of those planes I don't have much to say about. I do think his checkered pattern looks pretty cool, and I do kind of like his model. But his design, however, yeah, just not so much. Yeah, sorry, Arturo, but you're just not that high on my list. I'm sorry. Next up is Sunwing. Now, Sunwing here did have 2 of the colors that Vanderbird has, but there is no orange. So luckily, Sunwing is not bad, just kind of average. When used right, yellow and red can actually be a pretty cool combination in my opinion. Though here on Sunwing, I mean, yeah, it's like fine, I guess. It's like, eh. My biggest complaint is that the yellow just overtakes the red by like a lot. Considering her name though, the design does probably fit a lot. But yeah, it's not all that great. So yeah. At 24, we have Gordon. And like, yeah, he's fine. He's just fine, to be honest. At best, he's okay. He's not one of those planes who appeared at the time trials and never really went from there. And his design is okay. They really could have done a lot more with the white, to be honest. Or maybe even add some black. Then I could have been reminded of Todd Marcus. Other than that, Gordon is just an okay racer, and I've got nothing else to say except that, so shall we move on? Next up is Ty, short for Tyzonitis. And once again, another plane that I'm very mixed on because of both his movie appearance and his diecast. Once again, I find his movie appearance to be just average. I mean, it's silver with a little bit of orange, and that orange had potential to kind of look like flames. But, however, I do actually find the diecast of him to actually be kind of neat, if I'm being honest. It even reminds me of my favorite Piston Cup sponsor, Nitroade. A sponsor filled with some of my favorite racers from each of their respective generations, including the one guy who you guys know I absolutely adore. So, you guys would think with my love for Nitroade that Tyzonitis would be very high on this list. Well, if he looked like that in the movie, I'd say he'd at least be good or great. But because he looks more silver in the movie, yeah, he's just got a very okay color scheme at best. Part of me does want to say I like him because of his diecast and because it reminds me of Nitroade, but yeah, I'm not really that big of a fan of him. He's not bad though, he's just alright. Up next is our first B tier plane, that being Maddox. Oh, well, what do you know? He was that close to laying on his number, yet he didn't for some reason. He's another one of those Wings Around the Globe racers who only appeared in the time trials, and never really went from there. Anyways, so his model reminds me a lot of Skipper's, which is pretty cool to me, to be honest. And his design even reminds me of Jolly Rancher's Dusty for some reason. In general, I actually find his design to be really decent and everything. So yeah, pretty decent racer overall. Up next, we have Vecchi, another racer who I don't have much to say about. For me, the biggest thing I have to say about him is that he's basically Gordon, but if he had a better design. Sorry, Gordon. I also think his number is very unique, and it's rarely ever used in the Cars franchise. It was also worth mentioning that he was one of the last few Wings Around the Globe racers that was there when the competition was almost over. So basically all of this is kind of showing why he's superior compared to Gordon. And basically that's all I've got to say. So next. Up next is Zekerd, a racer with a really great color combination, but not a great design. Once again, another Wings Around the Globe racer who only appeared at the time trials and never went from there. Now, anyways, while the white and blue look very cool together, the red goes a little underused here, which is kind of disappointing, I'm not gonna lie. Still though, he's kind of cool. He's just not my favorite, that's all. And we go from one blue, white, and red racer to another. One who I think gets the job done right. And that is Kolya Ivanov, the Russian Wings Around the Globe racer. First of all, I find the number 19 to be very cool. And hey, what do you know? He even landed on his number.
Coincidence? I think not!
In fact, aside from having the 3 colors that were just on Zekerd, he has one more color. And that color is, of course, black. I still think the red is a little underused, but not so much like it was on Zekerd. But other than that, they pretty much did a very good job with his paint job. And I really like it. Up next is Little King, a racer who looks similar to Ripslinger, but doesn't have the black. So I actually consider him to be a pretty good racer. I mean, his design isn't all that amazing, but I do find his name to be good. I mean, the name Little King. I mean, think about it. The name is actually really interesting to me, and that's why he's actually as high as he is on this list. And I don't know, I mean, his color combination is very decent, and his design is but I do like the checkered patterns. Overall, he's a pretty cool racer. He's just not my favorite, that's all. Up next is the main character of this movie, Dusty Crophopper. Or, as I should be calling him on this list, Racing Dusty Crophopper. Throughout the wings around the globe, Dusty Crophopper had about 3 different designs. Though, since he wore this one through a majority of the rally, I decided this was his main paint job for the wings around the globe rally. And plus, it did also come back in Planes, Fire, and Rescue, but with a different model, of course, since we all know what happened at the end of the first movie. As a character, I've always been a really big fan of Dusty. I mean, his design is pretty good, and plus, his personality is interesting to me. He wasn't built for racing, yet he went and did it anyways. He does share a few similar traits with Lightning McQueen. However, I think the main difference is that Dusty was more humble from the beginning, even though Lightning eventually became humble, obviously. But, of course, this is a ranking list by design, and his design is, well, it's good. The white, orange, and blue do mix together very well. I think it's a pretty good design overall. Probably not as good as his Supercharger design per se, and we'll talk in a minute about where that could be if it were on this list, same for the design he was wearing before. But overall, it's a pretty good design, just nothing too special though. That's all. Up next is Miguel. No, not that Miguel. This Miguel. I actually find his colors to be really nice if you ask me. His colors are simple, but very nice. I do really like the lime and dark green checkered pattern he does have on his wings and his tail fin. His green isn't overused or anything, which is really nice. And plus, he has a pretty good design. He may not be one of my favorites per se, but I'm a pretty big fan of him. Oh yeah, and I just realized, he just landed on his number as well.
Coincidence? I think not!
We go from to Spain with Antonio here. First off, nice name. Second of all, his design's really nice if you ask me. I mean, it's nothing amazing, but pretty cool. I like how he's primarily black with the Spain flag in the back. I do wish the Spain flag was a little more prominent though. But other than that, he is actually really cool if you ask me. And that's all I've really got to say, so... At number 14, we have Gunner Viking. That's kind of an interesting name, I'm not gonna lie. Very good first impressions. I do actually kind of like his color combination, since it does kind of remind me of Dan Garcia, who, as you may know, of course, if you've been a fan of my channel for a while, is one of the few next gens I adore and is, of course, my favorite next gen. However, while I do like Gunnar Viking's color combination, his design is, well, at best, it's decent. At worst, it's just average. While it's used very well, I do think that the yellow is kind of overtaking the blue a little. So, generally speaking, he's a pretty cool racer, with a decent design, but a good color combination. And plus, a really good name, if you ask me. Also, I'm just gonna mention that he was just 2 spots away from his number. Alright then. At unlucky number 13, we have Firebird. Now, this was a hard one for me to rank, but personally, I do really like her design at least. The purple and the white go very well together in my opinion. I mean, it actually looks really nice. The purple even reminds me of my favorite popsicle flavor, which is grape. Which is actually my favorite flavor for a lot of things. That being said though, I do have one big gripe with her that holds her back a little, and that being her name. Personally, I wish they just named her something else, or just added a couple of flames so that the name Firebird made sense for a plane like her. Despite that though, I can safely say that Firebird is a pretty cool plane with a pretty cool color combination. And now folks, we're on to the A tier, the racers that I consider great. Our first A-tier plane is none other than Jan Kowalski. First of all, I actually really like the name. Like, I know I say that about almost every racer, but this time I actually really mean it. Like, this is actually a really good name. Instead of just having a first name, he has both a first name and a last name this time, which is something most of the other racers don't really have. His design is actually very nice. He's primarily green, but I do really like what they did here with his wings, making them both white and red and having a bit of a checkered pattern. Very nice touches. Barely missing out on the top 10 is none other than Hammer. He's another one of those Wings Around the Globe racers who only appeared at the time trials. And to be honest, I do feel kind of bad for him. I honestly really like his color combination here, and even his design, though the yellow could have been on there a little bit more though. I also consider myself a really big fan of his name. I mean, the name Hammer sounds cool on a plane. But yeah, I'm sorry Hammer, I know you already missed out on the Wings Around the Globe, but you're about to miss out on the top 10. I'm sorry, buddy. Starting off the top 10, we have Vonzarelli. Another Wings Around the Globe racer who missed the Wings Around the Globe and only competed in the time trials, but unlike most of the time trial racers, he's probably one of those that actually deserves to miss it. Since after all, he was that one plane that did use the illegal fuel, and he's basically the main reason why Dusty even competed in the Wings Around the Globe to begin with. Despite that though, I do still really like him, and his design as well. Anyways, I really do like his design, and his color combination's also pretty cool. The blue goes on the sides very well, and I do love how the number 8 is red. And that's another thing, the number 8, really do like it. It looks very cool. Overall, I think he's pretty cool if you ask me. Even though he did deserve to get disqualified for the illegal fuel intake. Next up is the character who's pretty much Dusty's love interest, that being a Shiny. Or, well, I mean, I think she is. That is besides the point though. But anyways, I do really like her as a character, I'm not gonna lie. Now, by design though, they did it. They made a racer who combines orange, red, and yellow that doesn't suck. I mean, speaking of those as her primary colors, of course. Considering she is basically a multicolor racer with several different colors. But if you ask me, that's actually what makes a Shiny so cool here. I do really like how the green and the purple go together on the design, and how it manages to actually look pretty good. I mean, seriously, I'm a fan of it. While it's not amazing or anything, I do really like this design. I can't lie. It's actually really good. At number 8, we have Yellowbird. Now, the name is kind of dull if you ask me. However, the color combination? I actually kind of like it, I'm not gonna lie. The combination of yellow, black, and a little bit of red reminds me of Slider Petroliski. However, his black checkered pattern does kind of remind me of Cars 1 Todd Marcus. Though overall, he's got a pretty cool color combination. His design, however, it's decent. It could have been a bit better, but overall, I think it kind of deserves this spot on the list, I'm not gonna lie. We've got Joey Dundee, another orange racer. However, he tries something a little interesting. He has black on him, along with bits of red and yellow. And hey, if you ask me, I think that's pretty cool. Plus, I really like the design if I'm being honest. His design actually does kind of remind me of Billy Oilchanger. At least the black and the orange do. It's also worth mentioning that I really like the number. I mean, it's pretty obvious why for people who have been a fan of my channel for a while, of course. I really like how they also incorporated the flag onto there as well. I mean, it really looks nice. So, while he's not amazing or anything, I do really like his design. I actually think he's a pretty cool racer. And now, we're gonna move on to the S tier. Our first S tier plane is none other than Pack Rat. Huh, that's kind of an interesting name, but I like it. I really like how the purple, pink, and white all mix together. They look like a really cool color combination if you ask me. She also reminds me a lot of both intersection racers from Cars 3. And it's just amazing overall. Entering the top 5, we're starting off with Rochelle. For me, usually speaking characters have some of the weaker designs. Though, despite that, we still have 3 speaking characters to talk about on this list, including Rochelle here. And I'm a huge fan of her design, I'm not gonna lie. First of all, I really like the color combination. I mean, the white, pink, and red all mixed together very well, if you ask me. Second off, I've noticed recently that she's kind of similar to the Tank Coat Racers. A sponsor that I didn't appreciate too much at first, but over time has grown on me and I've begun to love their racers. While she may not be one of my favorite characters from this movie, and I mean as a character, I do adore her design really. Also, it's worth mentioning that there's all sorts of international versions of Rochelle everywhere. Anyways, after we're done talking about Rochelle, we're going to talk about her boyfriend now, El Chupacabra. Oh gosh darn it, he just had to be one spot off from his number, now didn't he? Well, I guess this is why we can't have nice things. But anyways, El Chupacabra was already one of my favorite characters to begin with. He was very funny and energetic, and I absolutely loved it. And I even like him by design. I really like the Mexican flag colors. They look really nice on him. And plus I even like how he has a bit of a mask on. I mean, of course, identity issues, but Plus, I really like the way the cape looks.
No capes!
Next up on our list is Trobasa. Yeah, I don't really know how to pronounce his name. I'm sorry, guys. Anyways, I really love the ninja-like design, as it fits him very well for being someone who's a Japanese plane, of course. The combination of black, blue, red, and white all look very good on him. That white, of course, being the flame, which looks really good on him, if you ask me. He's on the podium, getting a bronze trophy, of course, but he deserves it. Now, on to the top two. Runner-up to the number 1 spot is Bulldog. One of my favorites, not only by character, but by design as well. Just like El Chupacabra already. He went through a mix of being a supporting and background character, but I really did like what they did here with his personality. Make him go from a little bit of a selfish racer to a nice guy. Also, he had one of the most wholesome moments in the movie. Even by design, I love him. I mean, okay, so first of all, I love how the UK flag fits onto him so well. Not only that, but his model is personally one of my favorites. I mean, of course, it's a very unique Wings Around the Globe racer model, but I really like it. What can I say? And plus, I absolutely love the silver on him. In general, he's a pretty cool looking plane, though he loses to only one plane on this list, and that plane being the LJH 86 Special. Yeah, that's actually his name. I'm not even kidding. I don't know why he doesn't have an actual name, but oh well. Despite not having a name though, I think he definitely has an incredible design. I absolutely adore the patriotic scheme. The design is absolutely gorgeous to look at. Plus, I am a really big fan of his model as well. Not only all that, but I also feel really sorry for him as well, since he's another one of those time trial racers who never made it out, and, well, he's unfortunately nameless. I personally really wish he went on to compete in the Wings Around the Globe. I mean, seriously, he's one of those planes who would have deserved it. The LJH 86 Special is my favorite Wings Around the Globe racer, and he absolutely deserves it. Okay, real quick everyone, I forgot to rank both of Dusty Crophopper's extra 2 schemes he had before and after the Wings Around the Globe Racing Dusty that I ranked at 17th on this list. So I'm gonna rank both of those. They're gonna be real short sections, because I forgot to script them. So yeah. So Dusty's Strut Jetstream paint job, I personally find it to be alright. I mean, I just don't think it's as good with the blue. I mean, without the blue. So it's just okay. It's not bad or anything, just kind of average. If I were to rank him on this list, he'd be about like above Sunwing, about like 25th, I think it was. Meanwhile, I absolutely adore this other supercharged Dusty Crophopper. I mean, seriously, not only does it add silver to the original design that I ranked on this list, but it's also just very well in my opinion. It looks really good. If I were to rank him, he'd be about 5th. So, yeah. So there you have it. That was my Wings Around the Globe ranking list. And honestly, this was really fun to do. I've never done one on these racers before since, you know, I've been more focused on Piston Cup racers in the past, obviously. But it's been fun. The next ranking list I'll be making soon will be on a group of race cars that I think you guys might be familiar with. But for now, that'll be it. Thanks for watching, everyone, and if you want, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. That is, if you want to. And don't forget to hit the notification bell for more videos. This is Kirby Tanks and Gaming Productions 39. See y'all next time.